All right, let's get into it. Today, we're going to talk about one of my favorite things in Python, and honestly, one of its most powerful tools, the dictionary. You'll see that it's the absolute secret to organizing complex data, making it super clean, intuitive, and crazy efficient. So let's dive right in.
So, let's kick things off with a problem you've probably run into. Imagine you're building something and you need to keep track of a student's info, their name, their age, their grade. How do you actually keep all that stuff together in one neat little package? I mean, sure, you could create a bunch of separate variables, but wow, that gets messy fast. Trust me, there is a much, much better way. Okay, so let's look at two ways to handle this. On the left, we've got a good old Python list. Yeah, it holds the data, but it's kind of anonymous, right? You have to remember, okay, index 0 is the name, index 1 is the age, and that's just a headache waiting to happen. But now, look over at the dictionary on the right. See the difference? Every single piece of data has a name, a label. We call it a key. That number 20 isn't just floating there, it's explicitly the age. And that one little change, it makes your code a million times easier to read and understand.
So what is a dictionary really? Well, at its core, it's just a collection that stores data in these things called key-value pairs. And I love the analogy here of a labeled file folder. It's just perfect. Think about it. Instead of having this messy stack of papers on your desk, you've got a neat folder. And inside that folder, you don't just have random info. You've got these nice little tabs that say name, age, and grade. It literally turns chaos into clean, organized data.
All right, so we get the what and the why. Now it's time for the fun part, getting our hands dirty. We're going to see exactly how to create a dictionary from scratch, and, just as important, how to pull the data back out. This is where all that theory turns into a real coding superpower.
And you know what? The syntax is actually super simple. It all starts and ends with these curly braces. That's your signal to Python, hey, a dictionary is coming. Then, inside, you just make your key-value pairs. You've got your key, which is usually a string, then a colon, and then whatever value you want to assign to it. Each pair is separated by a comma, and boom, you've got a beautiful, perfectly structured dictionary. Now, if you thought creating it was easy, getting data out is even easier. Seriously, you can totally forget about remembering those index numbers like you have to with lists. With a dictionary, you just ask for what you want by its name. Need the student's name? Just use the key name inside some square brackets, and Python goes and grabs Ishtiaq for you. It's just so intuitive.
Okay, quick pro tip for you. Using those square brackets is great, right up until you ask for a key that doesn't actually exist. And when that happens, your whole program can crash. Ouch. So the safer, more professional way to do it is with the .get method. If the key isn't in the dictionary, it doesn't throw a fit. It just calmly returns none. This makes your code way more robust.
Okay, so we can create dictionaries, and we can read from them. But let's be real. Data in the real world is almost never static. Things change all the time, right? Well, guess what? This is another place where dictionaries totally shine. They're completely dynamic. You can add, update, and even remove information with no sweat. Let's take a look.
So, let's go back to our student Ishtiaq. Let's say he just had a birthday. Happy birthday, Ishtiaq! Right now, if we look in our dictionary, the value for the age key is 20. Obviously, we need to update that.
And updating a value could not be any easier. All you do is target the key you want to change, in this case, age, and then just assign a new value to it with a simple equal sign. That one line of code is all it takes to set the age to 21.
And boom, just like that, our dictionary is updated. The age key now points to the new value, 21. And notice, everything else, the name, the grade, is completely untouched. It's just so precise and efficient. I love it.
But what about adding totally new information? Well, you're going to love this. The syntax is exactly the same. If you try to assign a value to a key that doesn't exist yet, Python doesn't complain. It just says, okay, I'll create that for you. So by adding this city key, we've just expanded our data structure, just like that, on the fly.
Of course, sometimes data needs to go, and Python gives you a whole bunch of tools for that. You can use .pop to remove a specific item if you know its key. Super useful. There's also .popitem, which is a bit different. It just removes the last item that was added. For a more direct approach, you can use the del keyword. And hey, if you just want to nuke the whole thing, .clear will empty it out completely. So yeah, you've got the right tool for pretty much any situation.
All right, we've totally nailed the basics, but now it's time to level up. We're going to unlock the real power of dictionaries by looking at two slightly more advanced topics: looping, which lets us work with all the data inside, and nesting, which is how we build really cool, complex data structures.
So what if you need to go through every single item in your dictionary? Well, you've got a few options. You can loop through and get just the keys, or you could use the .values method to get just the values. But honestly, the one you're going to use 99% of the time is .items. This is the gold standard because it gives you both the key and the value together in each loop. It's almost always exactly what you need.
Okay, now this is where things get really cool. Remember how a value can be a string or a number? Well, the value in a key-value pair can be any Python object. And that includes another dictionary. This is what we call nesting. So you can have a dictionary that holds other dictionaries, which lets you build these incredibly rich, layered data structures. It's super powerful. So you might be wondering, how do I get to that data that's buried deep inside? It's actually really straightforward. You just chain the keys together. First, you use the key for the outer dictionary, like student 1, to get to that inner dictionary. Then, right after it, you add the key for the piece of data you want inside, like name. And this logic just keeps on going, no matter how many layers deep your data is. So we've talked a lot about the syntax, the how-to. But what does this all mean in the real world? Like, where are you actually going to use this stuff? Let's connect all these ideas to some practical, everyday examples, and you'll see why dictionaries are going to become one of your favorite tools. Just think about pretty much any object in the real world. It has properties, right? A contact in your phone, it has a name, a phone number, and email. A product you see online has a title, a price, a brand, and whether it's in stock. A student's marks, you've got math, science, English. For all of these things, dictionaries are the perfect way to model them in your code. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground, and theory is awesome. But you know the best way to really make this stuff stick? You got to get your hands on the keyboard and actually do it. So, it's time for your first dictionary challenge. You ready?
All right, here's your mission, should you choose to accept it. First, I want you to create a new dictionary for a car. Then, I want you to add a few keys to it, brand, model, year, and price, and just make up some values for them. And for the final step, use a loop to print out all of the values in your dictionary. Go ahead and hit pause and give it a try. I'll be here when you get back.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Python dictionaries. As you can see, they are an absolutely fundamental tool for organizing data in a way that makes sense to us humans, but is also super efficient for the computer. So, I'll leave you with this final thought. Start looking at the world around you through this new lens. What other things could you model perfectly with a dictionary? A recipe? A computer? A user profile on a website? The possibilities are endless. Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer.